Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we are going to be revisiting a concept that we talked about in a previous episode. We don't usually like to double back, but I got so much feedback about the little bits of information I provided about how to craft a resume that it has inspired me to go out there and find one of the most qualified candidates to come and talk to our listeners about it. I'm really excited because after you all get your job, because you're going to confidently pass your certification test, I want to make sure that we can present you the best way possible. And honestly, the only way you get that is with a well-crafted resume. It is your first impression. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our special guest. Rochelle Felix was born in the beautiful islands of St. Lucia and migrated to the United States at age 16. She is bilingual, speaking French Creole, which is her country's second native language, while English is the first. She recently completed her master's in public health with a concentration in health promotion. She is currently the healthcare career advisor for 5 Connecticut state campuses. Prior to this position, Rochelle worked at a Norwalk Community Health as the patient engagement coordinator and the Norwalk Health Department as a community health worker. Rochelle has a passion for helping others and the healthcare field, educating, nurturing others, and the health and safety of others are some reasons why Rochelle is passionate about healthcare. And let me tell you, you're going to feel the passion in this episode. Not to mention that due to her love of writing, Rochelle has been published more than once. Her first publication was in the international journal named Changing the Narrative, Structural Barriers and Racial and Ethnic Inequalities in COVID-19 Vaccination. From the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. The second publications were 2 chapters in the book named Navigating COVID-19, Perspectives and Strategies from BIPOC Women. And on top of all of that, she finds time to go dancing, and she loves writing in her blog, My Writing Blog. Rochelle looks forward to the exciting road ahead and how she can continue to have a positive impact on others in their lives. Let's welcome Rochelle Felix. Hey, Rochelle.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Oh, I am very excited. So now I think we need to be transparent and above board that I have been able to experience Rochelle a number of times because I am very spoiled that she works with the partnering community colleges that I also teach at. So I just want to be fair to everybody that I know ya.
Definitely, you do. And you are one of my favorite instructors.
Yay!
No offense to the rest of the crowd, but you're always there when I need you, and you're always there to help. So, hey, I give you props for that. So, thank you.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot to me. I feel so honored to have Rochelle included in our community college's support for their continuing education students. You know, sterile processing is a certification program in the state of Connecticut. So typically you really get that support when you're only getting an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree. It's not saying that your traditional college support isn't available, but the level of personalized collegiate support that Rochelle and all of her work in the community colleges offers continuing education students, specifically sterile processing professionals, is very refreshing because it can be a really tough field to navigate when you first start. Right, Rochelle?
You're so right. Like I always tell my students, it's a long road and it's a hard road. And when you have persons around that is willing to advocate for you and help you the best way they can, that's a blessing. You definitely have to take this and use every opportunity you get. So I totally agree with you there, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. And now, first question though, did you learn about sterile processing when you started in this role, or when did you find out about sterile processing?
So I'm going to be as frank as I can. I heard of sterile processing, but I had no idea what it was.
Mm.
Well, I know about cleaning the instruments, but I did not know the name. Let's put it that way. So I pretty much knew the name, didn't know what it meant, knew what you had to clean up the instruments and stuff at hospitals and stuff, but like I couldn't make the two meet. So coming into this job, I got the opportunity to understand what central sterile processing really is. And my, oh my, there is so much to learn about this program.
Mm-hmm.
Quite impressed. It's just a pity I don't have, like you said, I don't have enough time in my day to learn more, get a certification in it.
And I think it's kind of funny that the program is so robust and we're literally trying to teach everybody they need within 3 to 4 months. Like some of our programs are 6 months long. They're at a slower pace, but looking at all of the information you need to learn and hopefully getting the hands-on training that you need, it's a pretty intense certification program, no?
It is. And from my experience so far, every student that I have met love what they're doing. They are passionate about it. They speak highly of what they do. They're looking for ways that they can better themselves. They can learn more. I've heard about they're asking for volunteer experiences. They're asking for extra hours learning on the jobs. They're like, I have never seen something like this. It's like the more they get, the more they want. And I love that. It has to be something within the organization and the career itself that has those students so intrigued to learn more.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting as a professor to see the tide of sterile processing changing, dare I say. Whereas, me, I kind of just fell into sterile processing. I didn't know it existed until I found it at a local community college because I was trying to be a better vet tech. Whereas I've had a number of high school students choosing to go into sterile processing. So, I think that watching that sought after mentality towards sterile processing is very refreshing.
Yeah, very true.
And, and I think that actually is a great segue for the main parts of this episode we want to get to. Rochelle, resumes. Why do we need one? And I've got so many questions. Let's just start there. Rochelle, why do we need a resume?
Honestly, there are so many reasons why we need a resume, but the main one, in my opinion, is basically a resume is like an ID card to an employer. This is how I see it. It tells an employer firsthand who you are and what you're looking for in that job. So, for example, if you're looking for a central sterile position and there's one posted and you have the qualifications, or you have qualifications for that position, or qualifications that may be similar or close to that qualification, your resume says that. So it introduces you to the employer. That's, in my opinion, what a resume should be or is.
And I think you highlight something in there, qualifications that may be similar. When I speak to my students in class, a lot of them don't have previous sterile processing experience, let alone previous healthcare experience. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about what it means to have qualifications that are like the job you're moving into.
So first of all, I'll say that wholeheartedly. If you're in school for a program, a course, something, that is experience. That is 100% experience. So therefore, you are qualified for a position. So that's number one, experience. Number two, The other form of experience you may have is with your job. It may not be accurately what they're looking for, but you may have at least something in there that reflects something you will be doing within that position. Everything might not align, but it could be one word might make a difference. For example, let me see if I could think off my head right now of one example of a job that is close or semi-close to Central Sterile. For example, like pharmacy technician and Central Sterile. I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. So pharmacy technician deals with trays and instruments. It may not be the same trays and instruments as a Central Sterile, but they still do. They must know how to clean it, wash it, store it, save it, all of that. That is some of the duties that a Central Sterile person has to do. I am sure of that. So if this person has experience doing that as a pharmacy technician, they can state it in their resume to enable the employer or the person hiring to let them know that I may not be fully or 100% what you're looking for, but I am quite aware of what you want or what you need. I do some things that pertain to it, but not all of it. And with my knowledge at school, it will help me to grow and develop even more in the field that you are hiring in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And if I could speak frankly, just, carrying Rochelle's energy, I personally revere the person that has worked at McDonald's for 6 years. Fast food is not an easy job. I personally worked at Wendy's for 6 months. I could not hack it. Okay. I was greasy every single day. It was when the Baconator came out and, everybody wanted it and there was so much fake cheese everywhere. I couldn't hang. You know what I mean? So for somebody, just because it's not healthcare or it's not specific to the healthcare that you want to move into, like from pharmacy tech to another, it doesn't mean it doesn't hold value. If you punch into work on time every single day and you're available and you don't call out, those are all things we want in sterile processing too, right?
Exactly. Even so, back to McDonald's, like you said, McDonald's has cleaning, responsibility, tidiness, etiquette, hygiene, all of these things tied into Central Sterile. So again, it's how you state your stuff, how you present yourself on a resume. That's the main things. So I don't see the reason why we emphasize so much on experience as, oh my God, I don't meet those requirements. I can't put that fear in you. No, I don't think there should be a fear. I see it as I have the experience. I can do this. The least you'll hear is no. And sometimes you don't even hear no. You sometimes hear maybe or yes. So why not have faith and confidence that your resume is good enough to get the yes? Go with the flow.
I love that. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about confidence and how we can use our resume to motivate us during our test taking when we come back from this break from a word from our sponsor. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you'll take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and are discussed in the literature. Today, we'll cover fomites and vectors. So fomite refers to the inanimate objects or surfaces that can carry infectious pathogens from one person to another. So think of tables or even our cell phones. When an infected person touches a fomite, they leave behind microorganisms that can survive on the surface. If another person then touches the same object and then their face or mouth, they can become infected with the same microorganism. Now, vectors are living organisms that can transmit disease-causing microorganisms from one host to the other. Mosquitoes transmit malaria, and ticks are well known to transmit Lyme disease. In a nutshell, a foam mite and a vector are different because one is inanimate and the other is the living. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us after that break, and a brief word from our sponsors. Just in case you forgot, I don't know how you would have, we are joined by Rochelle Felix, and she is dropping some golden nuggets on resumes and how to make sure we are identifying ourselves to our future employer. Now, before we went on break, Rochelle started to touch on confidence and how we should have confidence in our work skills to portray them effectively. So, Rochelle, let's talk a little bit more about how we can portray that confidence on our resume. What are some key components that we could put in to make it, I don't know, feel good, make it motivate us? What do you think?
Our choices of words, that goes a long way. So, for example, it is nice to use those words like I'm team player, highly motivated, hardworking. These words say who you are. They describe you. They tell the employer what they're looking for. These words speak wonders. Because if I'm an employer and I see hardworking, motivating, team player, I'll continue reading because these are the qualities I'm looking for. So that's confidence. These are confident words to me. Also, how you form your resume, how you structure your resume, that shows a sign of confidence as well. If you have a well-formatted resume with your heading, your header, and your objectives or your summary, along with your experiences, and then followed by your education and your skills, I don't see how fully, and always keep your resume to one page. If they ask for a CV, and there's also two things. There's a resume and there's a CV. The resume is the shorter one, whereas the CV is the longer one, where you could put whatever you'd like on there. But when you're sending a resume, employers don't want to read 12 pages or even 2 pages. They're just going to brief for it. So always stick to one page and make sure the one page is very catchy. This goes back to what I just said. When you structure your resume with confidence, make sure that when you're done, you can sit back and take a good look and say, wow, I did this. Then you know you're on your way.
You know, and you said something that I think should go on like a bumper sticker or a t-shirt. You said, these words work wonders. Wow. I love that. Oh, I love that. No wonder why you're a writer. That's great because it's true. You know, if our employers are only going to get this version of us, which is only one page long. And in my opinion, resumes are very cut and dry. They have bullet points. They don't really get to know your charisma, your energy, you know, what they see about me on a paper may exude the confidence that I have in myself, but it certainly doesn't relay dad jokes or wit or, you know, just using the wrong word at the wrong time. I'm also very good at that. So, you know, but I think that the resume holds so much weight on making sure that we can be seen that we almost choke. Right? Like, sometimes I feel like we put it on a pedestal, no?
Sometimes we do.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we definitely do. Another thing about it too, we must always make sure that everything is flowing, especially when it comes down to describing our experiences. We keep it brief. We keep the tenses aligning. So if we start our experiences with the EDs, for example, provided, assisted, benefited, just an example. We keep that going. We don't start with provided and the next bulletin will be providing. It does not align. It does not make sense. It throws you off. So everything must always be aligning. It makes the resume look more professional, and it makes it flow better. So that's another thing that we must always think about when writing our resumes.
Yeah, I like that. So it's aligns, aligned, aligning. Either way, it's all got to be aligned, folks. Okay, like make sure it's all one tense.
One tense. If every sentence says ed, starts with ed, perfect. Don't start one's bulleting with s, the other one with ed, and the other one with no s. No, that's just all the tenses are just all over the place. They're swimming, trying to save their life. No, that does not make sense.
And you said an objective or a summary statement. Can you talk a little bit about what the point is of that and maybe what the structure should be?
So an objective, it tells who you are in a few sentences, maybe 2 sentences. I wouldn't say a paragraph, because some people take a paragraph for 5 sentences and more. And if you want 1 page as a resume, there's no way you could have a summary that long. So I would recommend the most 2.5 sentences, maybe 3, if you know what exactly you're going to put towards the end. But I always go with 2 beautiful, well-written sentences. It will describe who you are and what your goals are. That's the main points you want to put in there. So, for example, I would say highly qualified, energized, motivated individual with 20 years plus experience in customer service, healthcare, and higher education. Voila.
That's good. Do they have permission to use that? And they use that? Y'all have Rochelle's permission to use that, folks. Okay. But listen, if all of you guys start using it, they're going to be like, did they get this from Copilot or ChatGPT? What is this? No, that's good. And I like how you highlighted the importance of your goal, right? Because yes, the employer wants you as you are, but they also want to know how you're going to benefit their organization. And if your goal aligns with something that they find of value, which may happen to be theirs, that's even more beneficial to the overall layout. Yeah?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's very true.
And then I have one big question. References. Do you list them or do you put available upon request?
Please, sorry to say please, but do not list them. There are some things you'll leave for an interview, and that's one of them. I do not believe, some people do it, but I do not believe, again, you want to keep your page to 1. You don't need 12 pages because some organizations ask for more than 3. Names plus email address plus numbers. That's already overlapping. So it's not possible, in my opinion, to add your references to your resume. And for example, somebody like me that's worked so many places in my life, I use references based on the job and based on what they're looking for. Because I can guarantee that I, for example, worked at Trader Joe's before. I'm not going to put my Trader Joe's reference for maybe another job out of college. I might use my other experience from a college reference for another job out of another college. Sometimes you have to think and reshuffle your decks. It's nice to have options when it comes to your references. That is why you network a lot and you don't burn your bridges.
Right. I love that. Reshuffle your deck. And so then I think this brings me to a really big question that I get a lot, especially in my course. How do you, when you're reshuffling your deck, how do you explain big gaps in, employment? Like COVID-19 really hit us. And I think that's like an easy out when we're like, I didn't work because of COVID-19. Everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, I get that. But like, what happens if you don't work for 10 years because you became a stay-at-home caregiver for a ailing parent, or, you became a single parent and you had to take care of an infant, so you had to stay home 24/7. How do you explain gaps that are, I guess substantial? Like, I think substantial is anything more than 1 year unemployed, but maybe I have that wrong too. What's your input on that?
It's based on the gap. For example, right now, as of lately, you can work from home. One, for example, you can care for your mom, dad, elderly, brother, sister, and get paid for it. So that's a job. So I wouldn't knock that as unemployed. Two, you can have other means of employment. Sometimes it may not be a full-time job or a recognized job, but it could still be something you're doing. And if you're not doing anything, you list a reference that's most recent. And if employers are having a hard time or they're asking you why your gap is of that sort, you explain it as best as you can. In this scenario, in this situation, I believe in honesty. The most you'll get is a no. Why be untruthful about it? For example, I had a gap and it was put for personal reasons. I had a gap last summer. I was out of work from June to October. And I chose that gap because I had stuff to see about that I needed that gap for. So when I went back to my job before this one, I told them, hey, this is why I stayed out of work for so long, and that was that. But everybody's not as great in understanding, I should say. So some people might have a more difficult time understanding that than others. So again, it's based on who you get and what the situation is. So all I can say is just be truthful about it and don't think of it as, before you say you're out of a job, think about what you were doing, because you might not even think that taking care of your mom might be a job. It is a job. Right now, they're paying persons to stay at home to take care of their family members. So that's a job.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. That was so good because, I get a lot of students that are changing careers because they've been out of work, and most of it's because they can't find work where they are. So obviously it makes sense for them to shift gears and try something else, right? So I think that's going to be overwhelmingly beneficial. So Rochelle, as we move in to the last few moments of our episode, I always give our listeners homework. I know I'm one of those teachers. Even at my class, you always have homework. You always have reading. There's very rarely, I don't usually recognize holidays. No, I'm just kidding. But, so if you had to give a homework assignment to our listeners today, something that they could go and do to prepare or take what they've learned and apply it, what would be their homework assignment?
Well, I think I have a little of you in me because my homework would have two parts.
Go on.
So my homework would be reflect on what they've just heard. Reflect, and I use that word loosely. Reflect, think, dream, daydream, whatever they think that would allow them to remember everything they just heard or listened to or grasped. And sit and write or put together a resume based on what they've gathered.
I like that. That's a lofty assignment too. And I want to give everybody permission to not have a great resume the first time they write it. Okay. If it's your first time writing a resume, it's okay to go online and look at templates. It's okay to reach out to people. I mean, if you have a LinkedIn, there are professional resume writers there. Of course, there's also professionals like Rochelle that would just talk to you about how to build a resume. So there's a lot of resources available for you to just give it a try. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly. Because what I have learned about resume writing, and I think that's why I am doing it so gracefully now, it's practice. it takes a lot of practice. I would just sit and just write it just for the fun of it. I find in doing it now, because now I do it with my students, I do it like it's like nothing. Like I just do it. So it will come, eventually it will come in naturally for students or for whoever who's listening. So just on a normal day or a day that there's nothing happening for that person, just sit and just scribble something down. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like you said, it really and truly does not have to be perfect. You're just writing what you're thinking, what you think it should look like. Then you can go online and compare it to somebody else's, see what it looks like at the first glance, and then you can go and make the necessary changes. And if there are any students from my group listening, they're free to knock on my door and come over and I'll help them.
So as we start to wrap today's episode, I do want to thank Rochelle Felix for coming in. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for sharing your insight, experience, and wisdom with our listeners today.
You are most welcome, Sarah. I am beyond grateful to be here, and I am grateful for the opportunity. I believe in sharing the wealth, which is knowledge. So I hope this helps, and I hope that whoever is listening takes it into consideration and make their resume better. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. And if you get the chance, make sure you pin and star this episode because you're going to want to go back to it. Bye.
Bye.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sarah B. Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.